on to our next one. Dean Warhoff, are you, I believe that you're on here. I think I saw you. Maybe you jumped off from Midtown. There's Dean. He's just coming back in. Just a moment. We'll get kicked off with Dean and in Midtown. Dean, we're ready for you. If you can start your video, we'll kick it over to you to introduce your team, if that's all right. I believe you're on mute, sir.
Better?
Yeah, much better. Thank you.
Hey, Matt. So Alex Vidia is going to present. He's going to start the presentation. So Alex, if you want to come on, and Randy, if you want to share your screen. Great.
You can see my screen, but you can still see some faces, right?
Well, I see your screen in your desktop. If you can make the images bigger. And Alex, are you on?
Yes, I am.
Okay, great. So it's your show.
Well, thank you all for the time. Really honored to be here together with the other 3 finalists. And I wanted to start off by, we on the team member to give our condolences to Reverend Watson Haynes that unfortunately lost his grandson yesterday. So, and I think, Reverend, are you on? Well,
I don't believe Watson's with us today.
Yeah, because he sent a message that he was going to join. So just wanted, I didn't have the opportunity to say anything. But yeah, it's, I'm Alex Vidia, principal of Midtown Development. And my role and my capacity, I focus in this process, mainly, 2 things, which we'll talk about is picking teams. And we'll talk about it a little bit about the team that we've chosen here and that I am very proud of to be a part of. And whether we win or lose, this has been a crazy year. And I've had the luxury of working with these teams that we've put together. And we're still happy. If we were to start all over again, we would end up with the same team. So next slide, a little bit about us. We are a family-centric investment group that develops, and I think that separates us from many and most in most cases, that we are investors that develop and not the other way around. Probably the project that is the most similar to the Trop is our Midtown Miami project, which is 56 acres plus additional 6 acres, so over 60 acres. Same as Zoom is not the same as in-person meeting. I think talking about a project isn't the same as walking a project. I highly recommend, if possible, invite any and all to come down and for us to give a tour of our project yourself. Another project that we just purchased is an quasi-abandoned mall that's ripe for redevelopment in the center of Miami-Dade County, which is the Shops at Sunset Place. We also own, we're the largest owner of land in downtown Orlando, owning more than 19 acres. Next slide. Just a little bit more, here's a little bit more about Midtown Miami, how it's similar to the Trop in the sense that it's kind of like the hole in the donut in what we call urban or downtown Miami. And the success has rolled beyond the project. Here's an example that we would like to do to kick off the project. Rather than waiting for a building to be complete that can take 3 years, we did Art Basel. During Art Basel, we did 400,000 square feet of art show. Next slide. I think something that separates us, I think it's very clear for everyone to ask, and we put a lot of thought in, is what are we asking the city to contribute, and what are we contributing? We are asking for $75 million from the city and not a dollar more. In addition to that, we're paying we're paying cash for the land of $60 million. And we are on the hook for all the other public improvements. Next slide. You can keep going. Next slide. like I said, it was a long year. The first hand I shook this year in the height of the pandemic was Reverend Watson. Anyone that you just have to be in the room for this with this gentleman for 2 minutes to understand why he's part of the team and what he's done for his community and still does on a daily basis. Next slide. Just I feel we've put together a good mix of local and national that bring value at the local and experience from people who have experience with stadiums, people that have experience in the community and the arts, and so on and so on. Next slide. Here you just feature a couple of key players that we brought in, and I want to talk about Randy. We interviewed Randy, was part of the original master plan that the city hired him, and basically we interviewed 15 or north of 15 different planners, and we ended up just going back to Randy and brought him on board. So with that note, I'll hand it over to Randy.
Yeah, it's saying a lot. Thank you so much, Alex. And hello and good afternoon, everybody, and greetings from the Northeast. We start these projects and we do them all over the country, and often people want to know what inspires us. And for St. Pete, the answer was really simple. We met a lot of people that were inspirational to us that we felt we had to inspire in return. And we also saw a lot of places, and the place itself inspires us. And we talked to engaged community groups, and it's important about each different section of people because they have their own unique point of view about the city and about the Trop. And artists see the Trop a certain way, and young people see the Trop a certain way. Business leaders see the Trop a certain way. Young professionals see the Trop and the city in a certain way, and especially here with Bianca, with the way she talked about how the city has such a hands-on approach and how connected she feels. People who like to do activities and be active see the city a certain way and see the Trop a certain way, and especially young professionals and small business owners see the Trop a certain way. And what really makes St. Pete special in this particular piece are the residents of South St. Pete and the Deuces and those residents and generations most affected by the demolition of the gas plant district. And we heard a lot from them. The other thing that makes St. Pete so special are all of the diverse neighborhoods. And we spent a lot of time going through each of these communities. We understood and we discovered the cultural scene, which is really vivid and is going to inform what we do at the Trop. There are great institutions, and a lot of them would like to participate at the Trop, from medical institutions and Johns Hopkins to the Dolly Museum and universities and schools. You have a waterfront that towns envy, and your newest extravaganza, the pier, is sort of putting you on the map nationally, and the Trop has to aspire to that. Your town has a great tradition of parks, and you're going to hear an awful lot about parks and the role parks play. Central Avenue is as special
go down and see that in here.
you find anywhere
Yes,
in the
it's
United
really nice.
You have festivals and bringing the community together already. So all of this is in place, and things we don't have to do, and pieces that run through, like the Pinellas Trail that people use. And then you have your own history. And we look at history even before the gas plant district, when St. Pete started and was a seaside village. It was a traditional composition of streets and blocks and parks, just a classic Americana. And when you look at this image, you see St. Pete where everything blended together, everything worked together seamlessly. There were no boundaries and blockages and blockades. And all of a sudden, the city began to grow and enclaves emerged. And we're really focused on the African-American enclave that was at the gas plant, that was on the dirt that we're talking about. And so the history of that place informs the future of the way we think about the Trop. And when that was knocked down, this at the time was considered progress, where you paved over a paradise and paved over an African-American neighborhood with asphalt, and you built freeways, and things were separated. And this was all in the name of progress. But we all now think differently about many things, including the way we design our cities. And when we hear from people who were there at the time, we hear now about their dreams of hoping to buy a house where my family used to live, or this is the future for my grandkids, or I would like to start a business here. Job training is important to my future. And we talk about these dreams because these dreams are the design program that we're going to use to help create this place. And in our highest of hopes, we're looking to do an inclusive, sustainable, and diverse community that reflects those dreams. And when Alex mentioned the hole in the donut in Miami, the Trop is the hole in the donut in St. Pete. And you can see this just array of amazing neighborhoods that each are special and unique and how they relate to the Trop. And in order to put the Trop and the city back together, you start now the way you started then, by building parks and streets. And job number one will be for us to make Booker Creek Park magnificent. You can see in this sketch how it works with Campbell Park. The second thing we're going to do is build a greenway that crosses east-west that will tie the Trop all the way to the waterfront, all the way over to the Deuces and the Arts Warehouse District, and on our site provide a vivid array of different types of parks and spatial experiences for people to help meet those dreams. When we add our street system and put it together, our public realm is like mending nets, putting the city back together, and that is the art of doing it. And when you zoom in and you look at this sketch of what our proposal is, it's a walkable neighborhood with abundant open spaces and over 40 acres of just pedestrian-oriented large parks, small parks, medium parks, water parks, parks that slope, a variety of parks. And job number one is going to be starting with the existing conditions and taking Booker Creek and transforming it from a creek into an amazing park and series of water features that have 4 or 5 different environments along the lane. What's really cool to us about Booker Creek is that the land around there is not flat. And we think of Florida as being flat like a pool table, but Booker Creek is not flat. And that is really interesting to us. And Booker Creek also has a very simple flow. We know that it's cyclical and sometimes there's perfect amount of water, sometimes too much, sometimes not enough. But because of the way you can engineer things, and when you think about the way Chicago reversed the course of their river to solve a pollution problem, we can engineer the way the creek is going to be constructed in the future to control water and create environments from north to south. And we can take Booker Creek, what it looks like today, as something that nobody even stops to really enjoy, and turn it into the centerpiece of this area of St. Pete. We dare to dream to aspire to something like this. We dream about these water terraces and integrating open space and water together. And our Banyan Village at the south end is something that would be a complete surprise, a place where you can have retail, dining, and entertainment. And it would all sit amidst this stormwater management piece that today is just a series of shallow landforms. The other piece, the Greenway, which is 8 linked parks that all vary in size and shape and scale. And that variety is really important, where we'll have a piazza, which has some hardscape to it, stage spots and incubators for artists, Art St. Pete at the piazza, our Central Park, a park specially placed for kids, dog park, arts park below the highway. They all vary in size and shape and in their composition. And one thing that we're going to link them all together with is an expansion of the Heritage Trail that starts today on 9th Avenue and 22nd Street and will extend through our Trop site, along our parks, over the freeway on our spectacular wiggly windy park bridge, all through Campbell Park. And you'll go from one universe to another to another. And along that 2-mile long walk will be ample opportunities to commemorate important people and events, places in history, buildings that were there, as a way to integrate the memory of then into now. You can never talk about large development without thinking about transit. And with the BRT coming online and the idea about parking and doing more development, to us, transit drives access and value, but it's all about prioritizing pedestrians. So everything that moves to us is transit. And let's start from the bottom up, with there's people walking and children on scooters and people on bicycles and cars that are moving slowly. That's what our prioritization will be. And we can bring all of the transportation systems that are in place here today at our downtown multimodal hub that we're going to locate right at 13th Street, right at the head of Booker Creek as part of the big open space system. And talking about the way people and things move around, here are the way all of the various paths, bicycle paths, Pinellas Trail, vehicular paths, all converge and meet on the Trop site. So that splendid wiggly pattern to us is what makes everything delightful. And when you introduce transportation, you immediately now talk about development. And we have place for meetings and conference center along with a hotel, an area for an innovation tech and research campus, a Grow Smarter office center, which should be like the mini Rockefeller Center for St. Pete, the Beehive, which is a place for small businesses and networking to cultivate young businesses. We have a number of paseos, which are pedestrian oriented and small, for really small shops and affordable places for entrepreneurs, and even pop-up retail, which is also an affordable way to bring entrepreneurs and artists in. And on the topic of affordability, for us, housing should be integrated into the neighborhoods, and it should feel like its own special place and its own area. So there aren't just discrete little units hanging around. There are complete streets and neighborhoods, and this would be our dream and the dream of the community, which is a diverse and affordable neighborhood with small business opportunities that's fair for everyone. And this is our last image, which we all love, which shows Booker Creek and the boardwalk and retail, office, residential, our sustainable vision about what a mixed use community is. And just a quick word about our team, because Alex started it, but it begins with the city and all of the community organizations that form a team and a partnership with Alex and Midtown Development. That is the PPP of what everything is based on. We have a development and economic side, because you saw that group of our team. We have a big team because it's a big job, and the development team is made for community building, long-term commitments, providing economic stability, and they know Florida well. Our design team has national leaders, and we're really happy to have Walter Hood and Hood Design with us. And Walter's become a guru in landscape architecture. We've done work throughout the United States in cities that are addressing the same issues that St. Petersburg is, like affordable housing and equity. And we have the best of the best on our local side that have put together the St. Pete 2050 plan, the ESAP sustainability plan, mobility, affordable housing, and a community outreach program that brings everything together. The other thing that we offer is our process. We spend our lives building cities, and what you're seeing here are two parallel processes. On the top is our design process, where we'll create a master plan, we'll go through entitlement and approvals, and we'll move into phase one construction, and on and on and on. Running parallel to that on the bottom is the community outreach and input process that we orchestrate and program. And each of those little bubbles indicates time and place where the community has a chance to have input and look at the master plan. And so from our point of view, we create ideas, we talk to the community responds to ideas, we reshape ideas. And so by the time we're done, the community has more to do with the final form of the plan than we do. And that's the basis of our success. So why us? Why we think our team is the best? Because it's our values of always putting people first, that believing in the fact that your history is our guide to designing your future. This is a team that has done this before, and we know how to build sustainable communities that start with social sustainability, create economic sustainability and environmental sustainability. And we're committed to a true partnership between the community, the city, along with the entire Midtown development team. And I appreciate you indulging me, because I think that went on just a little longer, but it's easier to just get to the end. And thanks so much.
Awesome, Randall, thank you so much. I'm going to go ahead and remove the spotlight and end the screen sharing so that we can get to some questions. Do you have any questions for Randall and the Midtown group? Come on, lunchtime is not, it's not lunchtime anymore. Well, I'll have a question for you. Can you tell me a little bit more just about the multimodal center? What type of modes are you envisioning there, and is there any chance of tying in with the CSX line?
Ben, can you jump in on that?
Yeah, sorry, I'm off mute now. Hi, everybody. I'm outside enjoying the last, maybe the last day of spring here in St. Petersburg, so you might hear some birds in the background here. So the multimodal center is envisioned as something that fits into all the puzzle pieces that are being put together by both the city right now and the county and other regional planning organizations. So the bus rapid transit stops, the complete streets mobility, and room for future technologies also to grow into the mobility hub is what we're calling. But we want a connection into this neighborhood, new neighborhood, into all the other things that are happening with the city and the county and the regional transit authorities. So that's what it's envisioned as, to kind of be a collector for all the existing things, the new things that are coming online, and leaving room for future technologies and future transportation options that are coming on quicker than any of us realize, I think.
Gotcha. Thanks, Ben. Can you expand upon the Grow Smarter corporate complex, Randall, or one of your team?
Sure. I can start that off. So what we did was we made sure to kind of hit that first northeast corner of phase one right away with the Grow Smarter concepts, and start to work on the office portion of that, as well as, because obviously, and Ben can chime in on this after I'm done speaking, but it's a holistic approach that the Grow Smarter plan works with. So we kind of looked at each phase as encompassing the Grow Smarter plan in a microcosm. So you'll see there's affordable and workforce housing that's directly across the street from the office complex on one side, and then you've got to the next side behind it, you also have the hotel and conference center, so that people can walk to work and walk to all the piazza and the other areas to enjoy, really starting off in phase one and trying to hit that holistic experience of meeting the requirements of LEED certification for the whole neighborhood, the Fitwell experience, and at the same time, all of the other pieces that come into play in the ISAT model. Maybe Ben, you want to expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, the future development of this neighborhood is in really good hands, in the sense that the Grow Smarter initiative is really blossoming now. And all the work that the chamber has been doing, partnered with the city and the EDC, is really bringing all those 5 targeted industries to the city and the county. And this neighborhood is going to be able to absorb all the things that, all the eyeballs that are looking at St. Pete right now, and the eyeballs that are looking at St. Pete that say, well, there's not enough space for our targeted industry to locate. That's where we envision in this Grow Smarter Center to have those targeted industries located. But not only in that particular area of this very general plan right now, we also see the Tropicana neighborhood as being a natural flow from the innovation district, for example, where a lot of those Grow Smarter initiatives and targeted industries are growing up right now. We're working on the Tampa Bay Innovation Center right now, so we understand the partnerships that are involved between the city, the county, the chamber, the EDC, the county EDC as well, and bringing those to fruition. So we're excited about those opportunities in addition to having the Grow Smarter targeted industries grow up all around this new neighborhood.
If you don't mind me adding, part of our financial commitment from day one is to build 100,000 square feet of unique office space with we're not looking for any leases in place because we feel like the type of tenant that we want to attract here, they're not willing to wait 2 years till the thing's built. So, and as well as 100,000 square feet of ground floor retail. We think that's very important to kick off the, phase one is extremely important. Right now we can sell you the dream, pretty pictures, but once it's built, you walk it and you like it or you don't, So we're putting our best foot forward with day one, building 100,000 square feet of retail and more important, 100,000 square feet of unique office space.
Great. Thank you all. From one of our past chairs, Ann McMullen, how do senior citizens figure into the mobility of the project?
Walter, you want to take that one?
I think for our project, we look at accessibility, but we also try to cater all of our public spaces, right, to, I guess, the citizenry, the full scope as it relates to gender, age, race. And so our site, as Randy talked about it, we have the central sort of space, but we also have a series of interlocking public spaces. And between the public transit and the amount of public park space, we think that we can actually create environments, right, for all ages specifically. And this is one thing that we really think about when we design is not just accessibility, but what kind of spaces do people want to actually be in collectively and individually? And knowing your weather and knowing the kinds of environments that we can make here, we see that this will be a great place for seniors as well as for other ages as well.
Excellent. Any other questions for the team? I've got one more. In your designs, the stadium portion is kind of amorphous. They're not exactly a design. Can you explain that and how you envision a potential partnership with the Rays? Should they choose to stay in St. Petersburg?
Sure, I'd be happy to address that. We intentionally didn't try and design a ballpark. We did that for a really specific purpose, and that's because we didn't think that it was appropriate for us to mix into the discussions that are ongoing between the Rays and the city, and that when the Rays and the city are able to resolve their current negotiations, then we would obviously be a part of the discussion. But until that time, we think it's more important for the team to sit back and allow those two parties to figure it out rather than confusing the situation. Because ultimately, our goal is to be the best partner for the city, which also means being the best partner for the Rays and not actually dictating to them what they want to do and how they want to do it. So we made a conscious decision as a team early on. And remember, our team is made up of a considerable amount of local people that are born and raised in St. Petersburg. So there's a desire to see the Rays want to stay in St. Pete. And we felt like it was really important for us to allow that first process to take place so that then in whatever format the Rays and the city feel like the developer should be a part of that, we can be. And if they needed us to step back and simply hand over a portion of the site and let the Rays do what they want with the architects and engineers that they want, that there's a path for that as well, because we don't really know what is going to transpire there. So we think it's important to keep an open mind for everybody and allow that process to take place.
Great. Thank you. Got time for one more question from Jason Jensen.
Thanks, Matt. I just wanted to follow up on that. I understand that we're not designing that right now, but the location in the central, part of the site, one wanted to know if what would change in your mind from the mix of uses, and could in a plan where you potentially place it in the center of the site, is there a danger of bifurcating the site into two separate sides, especially with the west side of the site. But very interested in how you think the mix of the program might change.
Yeah,
Well, I'll take the
Randy.
first, Dean, I'll take the first part and then
Sure.
you can take the second part. So one thing that's important is that like we assumed that the stadium will stay where it is for now. So that said, we designed everything. If you look at our paseo, how our streets, our pedestrian activity, and where we're going to put a lot of emphasis on phase one is leading to the current location, the current stadium. So I think that's important to note. Dean, if you want to continue.
Sure, I'm going to start and then hand it off to Randy. What you'll notice in our proposal was that we left an extremely large area, larger than what the Rays would potentially need. And that is obviously so that it created an allowance for movement and adjustment in order to figure out what they really want, since we simply don't know. And to that point, I'm going to let Randy kind of speak to this point because we've talked about it ad nauseum.
Yeah, well, Jason, it's a great question, and it kind of goes to the art of city building itself, which is in order to make the Trop work, we're taking a position with or without a ballpark, meaning we would like to fix the public realm, meaning let's establish that. It's going to be critically important that you can move easily and freely from east to west, whether there's a ballpark there or not. That's almost something you cannot do today. So what the Rays do need from us is a site. And so we'll be able to craft a site with them. And that site will come with, I'll call them guidelines that will be built into the master plan that we do about where they will have to provide public access through. We'll probably even want to get into what the character of their building should be, depending upon which neighborhood they face it on and how that new ballpark will interact with the public spaces. So we'll want to control the world around that site. And the art of urban design is about making great sites. So we feel really good about being able to give them choices of a great site, give them some flexibility, and still have an excellent plan for the city.
Excellent. Well, thank you, gentlemen. The time has